So welcome to the Recovery Remedy today. And I see,
Hello.
hello. Hi, Shannon, and Kathy's getting on, and Brett and Faustine is here. Fiona, welcome, welcome. So as we are starting to think about, the last time we did a free webinar for the Better Business Bureau, it was called the Remote Remedy, because we were thrown into a situation where we had to learn how to work remotely. If we had not done it before, it may have been new for many people. So we gave guidelines on that. And today we're doing the Recovery Remedy because we're all thinking about, okay, now as we return to work and we need to recover from this crisis, what can we do? What can we do as business owners to really recover successfully? So I would love to hear from you as you're getting on today. What are your main concerns as you begin to return to work and recover from this crisis? And you can go to chat at the bottom of your screen, and you should see a little chat button, and you push that and you can start. We'd love to see some of the concerns that you're feeling as you consider to think about returning to work and recovering from this crisis. I know states are at different places in the opening, but we are all at different places probably as well. So we're a virtual company always. So we actually already have been working, but many of you may be needing to return to physical office spaces where you were working remotely. So we'd love to hear from you in the chat of what are your main concerns as you begin to return to work and recover from this crisis? I've been hearing a lot of people, employees, clients, we do executive training, leadership training, and we do a lot of team development and also organizational change. And we really help people to move through organizational change as the business. And I've been hearing a lot of our clients saying, our employees are scared. They don't know if it's safe, right, to return to work. And, everyone has to be wearing PPE, equipment, many different things we have to consider that we never had to consider before. So it'd be great to hear from you. What are some of your main concerns as you return to work and recover from this crisis? As we begin to think about that, what are some of your main concerns? So I see Randy said office procedures to make it safe. Yes. So a lot of offices right now and businesses are publishing, here's what we're going to expect of our employees as we return. Here's what we want to expect from our customers and clients. How are we going to interact? Right? I know in Arizona here, salons and beauty salons opened on Friday, nail salons. And then on Monday, today, bars and restaurants are starting to open. So they have to have various things in place as they open, such as paper menus I saw that would only be used once and 6 feet apart from each other. And then Shannon says, how do we stay connected with our customers, right? When are they returning? And are there new rules or ways to interact with them? Really good point there, Shannon. Absolutely. It's like, how do we stay connected with our customers during this time? Are they returning to physical office spaces, or are they choosing to work remotely? We know a lot of our clients, even though they're opening and they are going to, they're making a choice where the state might be opening, but business owners are making a choice to not open yet until they really feel it's safe for their employees. And that's what our decisions are as a business owner. And then Faustine said, I'm concerned that customers may not follow the rules and policies that we put in place, especially the ones that don't believe that the virus exists. Boy, Faustine, we've heard a lot of that from our clients as well. In fact, one of our CEO clients said that they got an email because they were requiring their customers and clients to wear a mask. and they got an email from one of their customers saying, I refuse to wear a mask, you know, and the person, the CEO, had to respond in a very respectful way, but to say that this is going to be a requirement, and we, you know, we understand you're being frustrated with that, but it is a requirement that we need to do this for safety reasons for our employees and for other clients who are going to be in the facility. So it's interesting time, right? We have never had to face anything quite like this. And it's something to actually be thinking about, you know, how are people going to be concerned? How are your customers going to be concerned? What are your concerns? You know, and then Brett saying, are things going to go back to what we knew as normal? Or will this virtual shift become more commonplace? And that's something too, Brett, excellent point. You know, everyone's talking about a new normal. And we've been hearing from a lot of business owners that they will now keep their employees working remotely, the ones that really can, and minimize the use of physical office space because it's costly. And they've realized during these last couple months, or 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks, that, boy, you know, we don't have to. We don't need a physical office space. It really depends on what type of business you have. But they've been seeing that they've been successful working remotely and this virtual shift. And we don't know what's going to happen with this virus. You know, as states open, are there going to be peaks? Are we going to close again? You know, we don't know what's going to happen. This is a great time of uncertainty. And that's why we wanted to put this webinar together for you all, is the recovery remedy, so that you know what are some key tools you can do as leaders and as team members that will help your businesses recover from this crisis. So that's what our point is today. And welcome to everyone as you're getting on. So anyone else have any concerns that they have that you may have as you begin to return to work and recover from this crisis? Any others? All right, great. Well, we will be addressing. What was that?
Isn't everything?
I was on there this morning.
I think.
Trying to see if I can figure it out because I'm not in there very often.
All right, thanks, Randy. All right, fabulous. So we're going to get started. And as we go through the recovery remedy here, we'll be sharing 3 key leadership tools that we believe you must use to successfully return from a crisis. And I'm going to turn it over to Faustine, who is going to say a few introductory words from the Better Business Bureau. And let's unmute Faustine, Randy, so she can. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name is Faustine Chan. I'm the Business Innovation Manager for BB serving the Pacific Southwest. Thank you everyone for joining us today for our webinar. I just have a couple of announcements. Our BB serving the Pacific Southwest, we're actually holding a grant for small businesses, and our application has been opened, but it will be closing this month, so please apply today. It's called Main Street Matters. The street is ST abbreviated. You can find more information on mainstreetmatters.bbcommunity.org. We've actually received over 400 applications. We are vetting them and making sure that they do uphold our standards. So if you are a business owner and you're on this call and you need assistance, you're not getting anywhere with the PPP loan and also the SBA information and those loans, please apply for this grant today. We're also looking for donors as well. So if you're a donor and you would like to support this grant, more information can be found on that page as well. So we have a great speaker today. We also have Randy Ganesh's. He is our moderator for today. He's a technology expert and presenter who has over 20 years of service in technology and video production. And our speaker today is Dr. Sharon Lamb Hartman. She's the CEO of Insight Out Learning, an award-winning leadership, team, and organizational development consulting company. She has over 25 years of experience, a doctorate from Columbia University, and a master's from Cornell. She currently leads the company to transform companies, teams, and leaders to achieve exceptional results. So go ahead and hand it over to you.
All right, thanks so much, Faustina. What a great, thanks for offering that grant through the BBB. So we appreciate it. So we may feel like this is our road ahead as we talk about the recovery remedy today. And actually, it's probably more like this, you know, where we might be facing some bumps and hills and peaks and valleys in the road as we return to work and start to recover from this crisis. So today we're going to share 3 recovery tools that leaders and team members can use to successfully return from the COVID-19 crisis. Because we want you to be able to survive and thrive now and in the future. And we're hoping that at the end of this, you're going to use these 3 tools to help you to recover successfully. And we will be sending out a handout to Faustine, who will make sure that you'll receive that so that you can use these tools that will be reference material for you. So the agenda today, we're going to talk about 3 key tools: progressing through the change curve. So one of the things we really specialize in is organizational change, managing change, and helping companies to prosper through change. And then we're going to talk about setting SMART goals. And it's actually, we've added an ER to the SMART, to smarter goals, and we'll talk about that. Because right now your employees are probably thinking, and employees and team members and even clients might be thinking, what direction are you going to go in? How is this going to change your business? And then the third is to create and agree on operating norms, because people need to understand customers, team members, your direct reports. Everyone needs to understand how will you operate as you return. So those are going to be the 3 tools we'll discuss today. The ground rules, please ask in chat and Randy will moderate. So if you have any questions, please ask. At the end of every tool, we will take a pause and ask if there's any questions also. But at any time, please feel free to type in chat a question you may have. We've already muted you just to help avoid any oops, I thought I was muted moments. And if you have any technical issues today, this webinar and the handouts will be available later today. Faustine will make sure that you get a copy and that the webinar, the recording, is posted on the BBB website. So real quick, I know we probably all have been doing a lot of Zoom or WebExes, but in case you haven't, I'm just going to walk really quickly through this, that this is your mute on and off button, and this is your video on and off button, so you can easily use those. We will be using chat a lot today, so that's your chat button at the bottom of the screen and your participant list. And you can also go down here where it says manage participants and click on that and you will see the participant list as well. The layout options are in the upper right corner, and then finally the meeting info is there. So real quick in terms of Zoom basics. So we're going to get right into the first tool, which is the change curve. So this tool has been around since actually 1969. There's all different types of change curve models out there and different managing change models. We use many of them in our work. But what we'd like to do is to find out, where are you today professionally? So if you think about this curve, these are the stages of change that people can go through. And it starts at shock, right? We were thrown into this 6 to 8 weeks ago, and we may have gone through this shock, through denial, right? Maybe it's not happening, maybe frustration and anger, and then depression. And then we start to come out of, maybe we need to experiment and engage with this new situation, make some decisions, and then even integration. So if you can think about, where are you on this change curve? What you can do is we're going to use the annotation tool to find that out. So if you go to the upper, if you want to show that, if you go to the annotate button under view options, and you choose stamp, and you can choose the check mark. So under view options, annotate, choose the check mark, stamp, and then click on what stage are you in today professionally. We'd love to see some of those responses. So seeing some in the experiment phase, which is, you know, initial engagement with the new situation. Yeah, and I would expect many to be there. A decision, experiment, depression, absolutely. You know, we have been, one of the services we do is executive coaching, and many of our clients are feeling that and go in and out of it. And that's the other thing. You might feel one way today and another way tomorrow because something happens. So you can see here that people are anywhere from depression to decision, and that is, you know, to be expected because we've been in this a little bit of time now. So you've probably moved through those first initial stages. So now let's take a look at where are your teams today? So the same change curve, but I'd like you to do the same thing, which would be to go up to the view options, click annotate, and then click stamp and choose check mark. And then click on the stage where you feel your teams are today. And I'd like to see the difference, you know, between where you are and where your teams are. That's why we're asking this question. So seeing some frustration, right? Recognition that things are different, sometimes angry. Maybe on that line between moving between frustration and depression. Some an experiment, right? Initial engagement with the new situation. So kind of seeing a little bit of difference between where you are and where your teams are. And if you're a team member, it's where you are, right? As a team member. So, and then some in decision, some in frustration. So let's take a look at and do a poll, because what I'd like to do is to compare where you are to where your teams are. So let's launch the poll, and I'd like you to choose on the poll that I am further along on the change curve than my team. My team is further along on the change curve than myself. My team and I are in the same place on the change curve, or I have no idea where my team is. So let's go ahead and see where you are. So take a poll and choose out of those 4 responses.
Okay, so
Awesome.
I'll close it in about 5 seconds.
Fabulous. Thanks, Randy. All right, so we're ready to see the results here. So I am further along on the change curve than my team, is where the majority of you are. 54% said that. 38% said my team and I are in the same place on the change curve. And 8% said I have no idea where my team is. All right, so this is good because we're actually going to recommend that you ask your team where they are. So we're going to go, and this does not surprise me at all. In fact, I'd like to show something here, and I think we've already seen it. So I'm going to stop sharing that and close out of here. And this is a model we use in our work a lot, where it shows the degree of involvement that you may have in the change that you're going through versus how quickly you accept change. So leaders typically have a high degree of involvement, and therefore they are more rapid in accepting the change. Then maybe our teams may have a lower degree of involvement, so might be slower in accepting the change, and their teams may have even a lower degree of involvement, and they're even slower in accepting the change because it takes time to understand, and they need more information, and they need a lot of communication. And so you're highly involved. So it makes sense that 54% of you said, well, I'm further along in the change curve than my team. Many of you also said that you were in the same place as your team. And that's great as well. I mean, look, that probably means you have had a lot of interaction with your team and that you have been communicating a lot throughout the process. So this is a typical process that we see and a typical response that we see. The key for us as leaders and team members is to feel compassion for wherever anyone is in the change curve. Because the worst thing you can do is to tell someone they shouldn't be there, because they'll get stuck in that stage. So definitely feel compassion and empathy. You need to help your team along in the change curve and not judge them for being there. So how do you do that? So this is, again, the Kübler-Ross change curve. And if you look here, down here, there's an approach. So when your team is in denial or frustration, okay, in denial primarily and moving into frustration, they need communication. Communicate information. That's what can move them along in the change curve. Once they're in frustration and maybe a little depression, the key is they might be feeling anger and fear versus shock and denial. So then you need to step into, I need to watch, I need to listen, and I need to support. So observe, listen. How do you show you listen? You paraphrase back what you're hearing. You say, listen, I think this is what I'm hearing here. How can I support you? That is what people need in the frustration and depression stage from leaders and even peers, right? To help people to move through the change curve. And then finally, when you get into this experiment phase, which many of you were in, give time to explore and test. So let's explore things. Let's test things out. Let's see what's working. So we've been marketing a lot more on social media than we ever have before. We're testing that. We're seeing what works, what doesn't. And then decision and integration, right? That's when you want to celebrate. Don't forget to celebrate when you have a big milestone. It can be very easy to just move on to the next thing, but to celebrate. So these are things that really help people to move along the change curve to the acceptance of change. And this is what we wanted to share with you today. And when you communicate, which you will be doing as you go back in and return to work here, is you want to try the 4 P's of change communication. And this comes from William Bridges. He's another excellent change model that's out there. Look, the purpose. You want to say, explain why we're doing what we're doing. So we've been transitioning a lot to virtual programs. I'm sharing this as an example. So to my team, I would say why we're doing this is because a lot of people are working virtually and they need help. And we have expertise on our team to be able to do this, right? Since we've been a virtual company for so long. The picture, you want to tell people what the change will look like and feel like when you reach the goal. So maybe 25% of our services were virtual, but in the future, between 50 and 75% will be virtual. So you really have to paint that picture and then tell people how they're going to get there, right? From A to B, you need to say the plan. So here's what we're going to do. And we laid out the different virtual programs that we are going to do and have a project plan for each one. So everyone knows their roles and responsibilities. And then you need to also explain what people need to do to help to make the change a reality and a success. What is their part in this so that everyone understands that? So those are called the 4 P's of change communication. When you're communicating, please use this. It will really help to set your vision. So what we hope is that in this change curve application, you're going to go and ask your team, where are they in the change curve? And the handout will show a change curve and you can show it to them and you can ask, where are you in this change curve? Have a discussion about how normal it is to go through these stages. You know, maybe talk about, share experiences of when you have gone through these various stages or where you are today and why. And then if you're a leader, practice the recommended approach for the team to move through the stage they are in. So if most people are in shock and denial, that means you got to use the communication. Frustration and depression, you're going to watch, listen, and support. Experiment, you want to give time to explore and test. And decision and integration, you want to celebrate. So that's one tool that you can use to really help your organization move through change. We are all in change, whether we like it or not. The key is, how do we move through it and really get to acceptance and a new beginning? So are there any questions on the first tool, on this first tool of managing change, change curve, what we as leaders, what we as team members can do? Because we're happy to take any questions. And you can put those in the chat, and Randy can moderate if he sees any. So are you seeing any yet, Randy?
Not yet.
All right. Okay, so that means that you all feel good with this and you're going to practice it. That's the key, right? We're all about learning that lasts. So definitely practice this tool and how you move through the change. So we're going to move on to the second tool, which is smarter goals. And why do we really need to set clear goals at a time like this when you're returning? Researchers actually interviewed, this was a Harvard Business School research, interviewed the MBA students, and 13% of the class who had goals were earning on average twice as much as the 84% who had no goals at all. I don't know about you, but I would certainly like to earn twice as much if I could through setting a goal. And then also, right, they found that 3% of the MBA graduates who had clear written goals earned 10 times as much as the other 97% combined, just 10 years after graduation. So that is really, really critical research that says there's an advantage to setting clear written goals. So if we go back, how many of you set goals? I'd like to see a yes or no poll here. Randy's going to put it up. How many of you set goals? So please choose yes if you set goals, and then no if you currently don't. And no judgment here. It's okay either way. Some people really love goals and others are like, yeah, I could take them or leave them. So, but we're seeing that 82% of you, 83%. So let's take a look at the results, Randy. Great. So we see 83% of you currently set goals and 17% of you do not. So I appreciate the openness and the honesty, and we're going to walk you through a method for setting goals that can really, really help you to communicate what your vision is and what the goal is to your teams, and for team members to really understand what your goals are. So you may have heard about SMART goals. We have added an ER, smarter goals, because especially when returning from a crisis, you need to make sure that they're executable and rigorous. So the S in smarter goals is for specific, right? So we really want to make sure, does it specify what needs to be accomplished? So sometimes in our executive coaching, you know, someone says, I want to be a better listener. Well, guess what? Being a better listener is not specific enough, right? What does that mean? Well, maybe it means that I need to listen to someone else first before I offer my perspective, right? Seek first to understand before being understood. That's a way of getting it even more specific. Are they measurable, right? Are there clear criteria to measure that success? Is there a detailed plan on what needs to be done to achieve this goal? Are they measurable? So if in the case of better listener, right, how are you going to measure this? And maybe it's in a 360 feedback that you're going to do. Actionable, right? Are the key steps identified that need to be accomplished? This is critical. If people don't understand the plan of what's going to happen to get to this goal, they're going to be less likely to buy in and accomplish the goal. So this is clear written goals, smarter goals. R is for realistic, right? Are they realistic? Are you saying, I want you to be a better listener by tomorrow? Because that is probably not as realistic as, you know, we're going to practice these techniques and next month you're going to be a better listener. And we're going to do a 360 to confirm that, or 6 months from now. Is it realistic? T, is there time bound, right? Is there a completion date? Because if there's no completion date, no one really feels a sense of urgency. and you need a sense of urgency to move forward, but a realistic one. So here's the E and the R that we have put on here. Executable. So has this been broken into key actions? And have the necessary supporting behaviors been identified? That is really, really key, right? That people see that it's broken into key actions and that people know what they need to do to achieve that goal and to execute on that goal. And finally, R is rigorous. How are you going to follow up on this and check in on this? Because when you're getting back from a crisis, people need to know that. Are we going to do huddle calls once a day in the morning at 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. for 15 minutes? Do we need just one meeting a week? How are you going to check in on that? And maybe if it's coaching, well, once a week in your coaching call or every other week in your coaching call, we're going to follow up on this. So people understand the rigor of the goal. So this is called smarter goals as you return from a crisis. So remember smarter, which we just went over, and I'm going to show you a goal statement. And then I'm going to ask you to use annotation to check which of these criteria this goal meets, okay? But let's just take a look at the goal first, which is, let's say that the business is a wholesale liquor distributor and that revenue is down by 80% due to COVID. So the goal is within 90 days, as communities are opening and relaxing the shelter at home requirements, we want to meet with and re-engage every small business owner that has stayed open or is reopening and understand their 30, 60, and 90-day beverage needs. We will establish weekly sales call objectives and plans for each salesperson who will submit a daily achievement report. And once a week, we're going to hold a 15-minute huddle on Monday mornings, sharing the objectives for the week. So when you think about that, now go up to your annotation, go to View Options, click Annotate, and click the stamp button. And then what I'd like you to do is to put the check mark where you think which of these criteria are met by this goal statement. So I'm seeing some people are saying specific. What other criteria are met by this goal statement? Measurable, actionable, realistic, time-bound, right? Because we're saying when. Yep. How about executable? Right, we're kind of breaking it down. And rigorous, because they even know that, I love that you're loving this check mark. So yes, so I think that you're right. I think all of these criteria are met. And this is an example of a really well-written goal that people will understand. It's specific, it's measurable, it's actionable, it's realistic, it's time-bound, it's executable, and it's rigorous. So it's a smarter goal. People really understand, what do I need to do now and how are we going to follow up? So now let's move on to the next example. So remember again, so let's just say this is a car rental goal, okay, a car rental agency goal. And they want to become number 2 in market share. I'm sorry, they are number 2 in market share. And the goal is to become number 1 and bypass Hertz, okay, who's number 1. So now go up to that annotate again. And so View Options, Annotate, pick the stamp button, the check mark. Which of these criteria are met by this goal statement? So go ahead and see which of these criteria are met. Yeah, exactly. I'm seeing specific, right? Because you want to move from number 2 to number 1. Measurable, because it's market share. So you can measure market share. It could be even made more measurable, right? If you said the way you were going to do that. But yeah, it's measurable because people understand market share. But what about actionable, right? So let's see if you go to the chat, and in the chat, yeah, exactly. It's not actionable. It's not realistic. It's not time-bound or executable or rigorous. So thank you for those red X's because that's so true. So how might we make it more actionable? So go down to the chat and put an idea down that would make this goal more actionable. And then Randy can read it to us. Any ideas for how to make this goal more actionable? No? Randy, you getting anything?
Not yet.
All right. So key steps, right? So what are the key steps that this car rental business is going to do to regain that market share? So they would need to put a plan in place and outline those key steps.
So Shannon says to break it down by specific markets.
There you go. So right, by market segments. Absolutely. And maybe have those key steps identified for each market segment. Excellent idea, Shannon. Thank you. Any other ideas, Randy?
Yep. James says dates. Someone else said time specific. And Ginger mentioned they need to sell X% more per market and by when.
Right. So X% more and by when. Exactly. So that will really help it be smarter. So all those ideas are going to help to be like a more smarter goal that can help your employees and your teams understand, and even your clients, right? They might want to know, what are you going to do now? Where are you going to be focused now? This is required information as we return from a crisis, especially. So any other ideas, Randy?
Nope. Shannon mentioned create specific actions sales reps can take on a daily, weekly, etc., to help drive the change.
Exactly. So those are all excellent ideas that can help make it more rigorous. So the reason we gave you kind of a great example and a not so great example is so that you can now go back and use this smarter goal technique. We actually have an interactive workbook, a page for you in the handout that Faustine will be sending to you. And you can make sure that your goals meet the SMARTER. Okay, so I really want you to take time. You'll go to page 7 of that handout and you'll use that worksheet and you can reuse it. You can push clear on the top and reuse it every time and make sure you communicate that to your team. Because if you're a leader of a team, you want to share those goals with your team and have them do the same exercise. Ask them to come up with smarter goals then and how their goals are going to align with yours. So this will help to set a forming stage to re-entry as you re-enter from this crisis. So we highly recommend doing this smarter goal application. Any questions on the smarter methodology before we move on to the final goal, the final tool? Okay, awesome. So again, if there's any questions, please let us know as we go. And now the third tool is operating norms. So one of the things we really specialize in is we help teams to define their goals, define their strategies, and define their ways that they want to operate. And so here is what an operating norm is. So operating norms are a set of agreements about how team members will work with each other and how the group's going to work overall. And these agreed upon behaviors allow the team to increase its collective team performance, right, through healthy debate and clarity of purpose and roles. So people are going to be wondering, how are we going to operate now? And how is it going to be different than the way we did before? That's really, we even saw some of those written in your concerns when we started this webinar. What operating norms help with is empowerment. Your team will feel empowered. They're going to know the rules. They're going to know the norms. And then you want excellence. You want team excellence. You want excellent performance and integrity. You want people to be integrity with your operating norms. So we're going to actually create a set of operating norms now. And you may choose to use some of these. You may not. But your team can maximize productivity and realize your vision and live your values and deliver exceptional results for your clients when you develop these operating norms. And then what you want is to get alignment and agreement on operating norms, and it helps you to continue to grow and bond as a team. So something that you can do is that we're going to demonstrate this exercise, and you can go and do the same exercise with your teams and come up with a buy-in of your operating norms. So we have set 4 different categories: meeting effectiveness, communication, teamwork and accountability, and safety. We added safety to this list because right now people are really concerned with safety. Many of the concerns that we saw in the beginning of this webinar was around safety. So we're going to take one category at a time. We're going to model this exercise by doing it together. And again, you may choose to adopt some of these that we do, but you may not, and you're going to do this exercise with your team. And then we're going to put a check mark next to your top 3 in each of these categories. And then you can repeat this with your team. So let's move on. Safety. Here's some example of operating norms. Right? This is stuff we've been seeing. My hair salon, right, opened Friday. I have not gone yet, but it says temperature check before entering work. They're taking temperatures before even clients can walk in there. Prompt hand sanitization and cell phone disinfection at the time of entry, and wearing a protective mask. Those are some examples of operating norms dealing with safety. What are some others that you may want to institute for your team? So type those in chat. Type those in the chat. What are some other ideas for safety norms that you may want to institute for your team? And just type them in the chat, and then Randy's going to capture them on this page right now as you're typing them. So here we have social distancing in the workplace. Absolutely. We're seeing that, restaurants can't sit more than 6 feet apart. I have one client that's a government agency. They are saying that there can't be more than 10 people in a room 10 feet apart. Okay, wear gloves when using fitness machines. Yes, please, right? Continue no handshaking. Yeah, it's not rude. We're just not going to shake hands right now. Maybe wave 6 to 10 feet away, please. Right? You're going to have to. So many businesses have to recreate workplaces that allows for the social distancing, because the little like open workplaces where our seats are right next to each other, that's not going to work. Daily wipe downs, absolutely, right? With Clorox or Lysol, with cleaning supplies that really are going to kill the virus. So these are all excellent ideas. Even providing signage with new operating procedures, great ideas. And then everyone understands this is an operating norm as it comes to safety. So now what I'd like you to do is to go up to annotate. So you're going to go up to view options, and you're going to choose annotate, and you're going to choose that check mark stamp. And I'd like you to pick 3 of these that you think you will most likely would want to adopt for your team. So choose 3, just check mark 3 that you think you would want to adopt for your team. Great. So see, everyone's different, and there's a lot of great ones on here, but this is what you can do with your team. So you can now say, all right, let's sit down. Let's talk about safety. Here's my ideas on safety. Do you have any to add? Get the buy-in, because yes, you may need to dictate some, like let's say an employee says, I'm not wearing a mask. Well, guess what? You need to wear a mask right now, okay? Because we need to be protective of other employees and our clients, right? That might be what you choose for your business. So you may have to go against consensus sometimes, but whenever you can get that buy-in, they're going to be more likely to do these norms. And you'll have to hold them accountable less because they're just going to do it. All right, thank you so much for that. And then we're going to move on to the next set of norms. So meeting effectiveness. So here's some examples. All meetings are going to be held virtually until further notice. Maybe people still continue to do virtual. Maybe they're back in their offices because they are 6 to 10 feet apart, but they're going to still do virtual meetings. No multitasking during virtual meetings. Be here, be now. So easy to multitask. We're all guilty of it. We've all done it. You know, that it's so easy to multitask. But no, don't multitask. And people are allowed to call you on it if you are. And then mute yourself when you're not talking, unmute when you want to talk. So these are some examples of meeting effectiveness rules, norms. So now let's go to that chat and put down other ideas. What are some other ideas for meeting effectiveness norms? And put in the chat What are some ideas that you may have for a meeting effectiveness norms? And Randy's going to go ahead and type these in. Turn on cameras. Absolutely, right? Because then you can see if people are multitasking. It's harder to hide that when you're on a camera. So that's a good one. All right, any other ideas for meeting effectiveness that you may have? Must have a fun background. I love that. All right, we actually do really fun things as a team. We did, one day we had the craziest background, and Randy usually wins that one, but that's, so yeah, must have fun background. Create an agenda or a specific purpose, right, for each meeting. Make sure that the required people will attend so that decisions can be made. Yeah, make sure to dial in 5 minutes before the meeting so that we're not starting 10 minutes after, making sure the technology works. Good ideas, really good ideas. So be spaced appropriately in front of the camera, not having half of your face. Yes, and actually, so right now I have 2 binders with my laptop up, right? So that I can be eye level with the camera. And yes, you should teach your team how to use the camera. All right, any other ideas? Let's start to vote on these now. So we're going to go to the view options on the top of your screen. You're going to go to annotate, choose stamp and the check mark, and vote on 3 that you would want your team to adopt. So some of these, right, no multitasking, creating an agenda and a specific purpose. By the way, when you create an agenda and you send it out in advance, you will be more likely to have more of your team participate, because then the introverts get think time before they come into the meeting. Introverts need think time, and then they're able to really share incredible in-depth ideas. Extroverts love to just brainstorm in the moment, but why not get both introvert and extroverts? So that's a really good one, to have an agenda and a specific purpose of the meeting sent out in advance, right? So you can see, keep a good log of actions. Yes, please, right? We always have one of our team members keep a good log of actions, and they send it out to everyone, so everyone knows what was committed to and who's going to do what. So thank you for that participation. I appreciate it. And now we're going to go to the next, and that is communication norms. So delivering bad news in a private setting with appropriate executive leadership versus airing it in a public setting. That might be a communication norm. Or we allow everyone the opportunity to complete their own thoughts, right, before sharing their own perspective. So that's really around listening. So what might be some other norms that you would want your team to adopt? Whether you're a leader or a team member, you would want your team to adopt around communication as you're returning from this crisis, as you're recovering from this crisis. What are some that you may want your team to adopt around communication? And Randy's going to capture those. Put those in the chat. Randy will capture a few of those, and we can see what other ideas you may have. Yeah. Right, a fun background can be distracting. Nora said that, and you know, Nora, you are so right. Like, if you want to have fun with your team, it can be a great, like, fun Friday thing, or even wearing a crazy shirt or a crazy hat. But if you're in a serious meeting, you might not want to do that. And then being inclusive, absolutely. So don't leave out someone that you may like less, right? You want to include the team in the communication. So absolutely. Any other ideas you have around communication norms? Okay, well, I think you're getting the hang of this. Even if you don't complete them, you can see these are types of norms that you can do, and then you can have your team vote on them. I usually say around 3 norms per category, so people really remember them. And then you can write them all down on one PowerPoint chart and really make sure that gets sent out to everyone. So I just saw Laura say, make sure that the same message is being shared by all levels of management. Absolutely. So maybe there's a flow down norm that someone sends out the communication that's to be shared and you don't deviate from that. So that could be a great communication norm, absolutely. Or cascading, so Ginger is saying cascading communication. So these are good communication norms that you can have your team to adopt. And it's great to have this conversation. And another one that you really should think about, and this is something that we teach in our programs, is how are you going to manage conflict? Because I will tell you that when stress levels are high, like they have been in a crisis, you need tools for how you're going to manage conflict and misunderstandings. It is very easy for team members to make assumptions about what someone said or did or a face they made on a camera, whatever that might be. And everyone is under high stress right now. So we might be seeing the worst in some of our team members. And if we do, we need to feel compassion and to remember to go back to that change curve. And what do? When they're frustrated, right? You listen, you observe, and you support. So you go back to that and you help that team member move through. But to really know what tool are you going to use to manage conflict in your workplace? So something we use here is it's called the ladder of inference. And we can go to someone and say, I'm up a ladder. I'm making an assumption about something you said or did. Can we clear this up? Or are you up a ladder? I'm kind of sensing you're upset with me. So whatever it is you might do, but definitely think about that one for communication. So now let's move on to the final one, which is teamwork and accountability. And you may come up with other categories. These are just 4 that you might want to consider. But I love this second one, right? Assume positive intent and pick up the phone to clear up any misunderstandings. Or always do your best to follow through on your commitments. If you can't deliver on a commitment, please let your leader know within 48 hours of the completion date so that you can reprioritize or renegotiate. I think all of us appreciate that. Any other ideas you have for teamwork and accountability, put that in the chat. What might be another norm that you want your team to adopt around teamwork and accountability? What might be another norm? And write it in the chat and Randy will capture it on the chart here. And you really need to think about accountability. Like a lot of times I'll hear teams say, well, I can't hold my team member accountable. I don't have the authority. Well, guess what? You can actually have a norm that says that everyone can hold each other accountable. It's okay to say, hey, you told me this last week and it didn't happen and I feel a little let down right now. It's okay to do that even as a team member if you have that kind of a norm in place. Being open and honest, absolutely. Keeping a log of actions with due dates, that helps with teamwork, right? Because then you can follow up. Create an understanding of how and when to follow up. Give permission to others to check in and see where you're at. Love some of these. Yeah, using tools such as Asana to look at progress of colleagues. Yes, there are so many great tools out there that you can do to look at progress, to track actions. So choose which one that would really work in your workplace. So now let's go ahead and go up to the view options, choose annotate, choose the stamp, the check mark, and check what are 3 that you would want your team to adopt. And if there's not 3, maybe there's 1 you really like here. But you can do the same exercise with your team so that they can really understand what are the expected norms. See, in all of these tools, what you are doing is setting the foundation. Because your foundation as a business, most of ours have been rocked, right? There is a huge change going on, and that's what happens in change. Our foundation gets rocked. We have to rebuild the foundation, right? Think of it as you just had a remodel done in your house or your office, and your floor got ripped up. Okay, you've now got to reset that floor. And these are 3 tools you can use to help you do that so that your team has more clarity on what are the changes curve, how are we going to move through this and accept the change? What are the goals? What's your vision? And what are the norms, how we're going to operate? So these are 3 tools that you can use that can really, really help. So thank you, Randy, for that. And operating norm application, we would really like you to do this exercise that we just did with your team. Again, in the handout that Faustine will be sending out, you're going to see all of these things, including this application of each tool. Come to consensus on the operating norms that your team will use. Some are non-negotiable. You might need to say, no, look, as the leader, we need to do this for safety. And then hold one another accountable for practicing these norms and actually have a norm for how you're going to do that. Right? So that's how you can apply these operating norms. Any questions from what we just did? Any questions on this last tool, operating norms, or on smarter goals, or on the change curve, or anything we've discussed this far? We'd be happy to address them now. And you can put those in the chat if you have a question. We'd love to take them. Great, thank you, Nora. Said great presentation today. Wonderful. Well, we will also stay on after this, but I want to close out this way, is that really remember there will be bumps ahead, and that's going to be expected. You're in a change process. You now have 3 new tools that you can use to help you move through it and drive over these bumps. And you know what? I don't know about you, but sometimes a great roller coaster ride can be fun and exciting and take risks. So it's all in our mindset. You know, can you shift your mindset to, okay, I'm going to have some fun with this. You know, yeah, we might be on a roller coaster, but I'm going to have faith in myself as a leader and my team or my team members to get through this crisis and recover from this and thrive in it. So I hope that's the attitude you choose to adopt after today. We would love for you to continue with us. We are doing all kinds of free resources right now because we want to give back in this time. So please sign up for our free community of practice. It's a LinkedIn group. This will also be in the handout that you're going to receive. We are posting tools, we are posting videos, we are posting all kinds of things that can help you to get through this crisis, not only get through it, but thrive in it. So we'd love to have you part of that community of practice. Also, we're currently running a webinar series that is really about how you can work effectively virtually, because we believe virtual work is here to stay. And we just finished making your meetings interactive. So if you choose to sign up for this, you will get a recording of that and the handouts. It was fabulous. Randy facilitated that one. Also, how to stay engaged and collaborative as a virtual team. What are some more tools? You only learned one today, the operating norms, and there are 6 others that we teach in that virtual team module. That's up this Thursday at 11 o'clock. It's recorded if you can't make it in person. And then building relationships virtually during times of challenge. How do we continue to build relationships with our stakeholders, our suppliers, our customers, our peers during these times? There are some great ways that you can continue to do that. And how do we stay centered during these times of transition? So often we can be tossed off of our center, right? We can be upset or frustrated. How do we keep centered? How do we return to center during that time? And we give you some tools for how to do that as a leader, and that you can also do with your teams. So all these webinars will be recorded so you can watch later if you're unable to attend. If you have any questions, you can email Samantha, and it's incredibly at a big value right now, and a 20% off if you sign up because you attended this webinar. So you just use BBB as the code. So please connect with us, join our community of practice on LinkedIn, and also your handout's going to be sent out today with all this information in it so you can use it as a reference. And then I will take any questions that you may have and stay on for that. But so I see one from Laura saying, what are some good ideas as to how we can network for opportunities in this new virtual only environment? All right, that's a really good question, Laura, in terms of, you know, how do we network for opportunities in this virtual only environment? So something that we've been doing a lot more of, Laura, is social media, where you know, primarily in the past, we've worked with a lot of Fortune 500 companies, and also we've had mid and small size businesses, and we weren't as active on social media. So we have been becoming much more active on social media in the virtual environment. I've also joined a number of networking groups and offer these free webinars. You know, this is the Better Business Bureau has, you know, accepted, sorry about that, has accepted our free webinars. WeBank has accepted those, WPO. These are all networking organizations. LaTip is an excellent one also. And we offer these things and say, look, can we help in this way? Here is a way that we can help. And it's going to be complimentary. Also starting a LinkedIn group, right? Like we have here, a free community of practice is another good way. Joining, I'm part of the No Bookin' Tribe, right? So you really need to find these organizations that you want to be part of and be networking with them on their Facebook groups so that you can start to become known there. I offered a master class there. So those are the types of things that we are doing. Also, we've joined LinkedIn Sales Navigator, which is a very affordable, I didn't even know it existed. And it kind of tells you, here are things going on in your industry that you may not be aware of. So we just signed up for that a couple weeks ago, and it's like $84. And it is a great way to continue to network. And we saw like a bunch of our clients had moved on to other organizations and we didn't even know it. And that was in the Sales Navigator, just that it's a LinkedIn service that they offer. So that's one idea. I just gave you a ton, but those are some ideas, right, that you can do to continue to network for opportunities during these times. And we, you know, I'm in a couple of mastermind groups that I've joined. And I'll tell you what, you get in one of those mastermind groups, you know, where there might be 6 or 10 people and we all have each other's backs. And it's like, what can I do to help you and your business? So that's what you want to be surrounding yourself by during this time.
So
What
Sharon,
else?
I have a similar best practice. So
Great.
I'm part of a cybersecurity group, and what we did was we held a best practice Zoom webinar. So we all joined and we all shared a best practice that we've been using lately. So it was a
Awesome.
networking opportunity of like-minded people and in the same professional.
Yeah. And if anyone else, thank you, Randy. If anyone else has ideas, please share them in the chat as well, because what I just said is not an exhaustive list, but those are some of the things that we've been doing to really help with the times, right? So we can continue to build relationships during these times. So what else? Any other questions that you may have today? All right. Well, fabulous. I hope you found this valuable. And yes, virtual happy hour, Nora says. Absolutely. There's been a lot of those. A lot of times we'll do a virtual happy hour and say, hey, wear a crazy hat or bring a prop, you know, from your desk, or wear a crazy shirt or do a crazy background. So you can have some fun with each other as you are going through these times. We need to keep each other laughing. So very good. All right. Well, we have Fancy Friday. I love that. That sounds fun, Faustine. A Fancy Friday where we dress up. I love it. Fabulous. Good. All right. Bow tie and everything. Wow. I love that. So that's good because, you know, I saw some social media thing yesterday, a video, and where it was like, where, you know, where the woman was saying, you're going to have to wear pants again, pants with a zipper and button. And the other woman said, pants that doesn't have elastic on it, right? So yeah, so people are saying, right, are you dressed up from the waist up? Yeah, and it's good. It's good to get in our real clothes throughout this process so that we don't forget how to do that when we re-enter. So wonderful. Well, please keep in touch with us. We love hearing from you. We appreciate the Better Business Bureau, Faustine, for for allowing us to do these webinars and get this information out there. And we would love to hear from you. So if you would like, to join that community of practice, or just email us at samantha@insideoutlearning.com or sharon@insideoutlearning.com. We'd love to hear how these tools worked for you with your teams, and how they've helped. And if you have any questions afterwards as you look through the information, just let us know and we'll make sure to answer those questions as well. So I hope you enjoyed today, and I hope you have a wonderful day, and let's all thrive together and enjoy the ride as we re-enter. All right, thank you so much, and we will see you next time.